Hustle getting ready to go.
So first, we have our make our own path question. So that's really our motto here.
Mhm.
It's essentially, I'm sure you kind of know, it's just meaning to follow your dreams. You're not held by the normal routes that society places on us, and these
Absolutely.
things that do not fulfill you, whether it
Mhm.
be a 9-to-5 job or anything really. So, what does making your own path mean to you?
Yeah, for me, very good question, first of all. But for me, it's about identifying, what your objective is. I think that's the most important thing. I think we're in a society now that we're kind of pushed in a certain direction based on other individuals or predetermined expectations.
Mhm.
So I think it's firstly identifying your objectives, and then secondly, despite despite demographic reasons or despite cultural reasons or despite whatever, finding a way that you can create your own path, and then no matter what, not backing down to that objective, despite if you got to take a path left or a path right, but doing whatever you have to do to reach that objective that you want to reach. That's what I would say.
Love that. Why do you think it's so difficult for people to kind of find their objective? I know a lot of people who say, like, you're lucky that you know what your dream is. Why do you think it's so difficult for people to kind of find their way in this?
I think it's just like financial, like social status, and you kind of reach a stage where, I mean, the education system is initially pushing you towards a 9 to 5. It's like there's a structure, there's a box, and there's doctors got to go there, and engineers got to go there, and this has to go there for the whole kind of thing. So it's like a clock, for the whole clock to function, you have to pop in all these little pieces, and I think that's kind of what the education system tries to do.
Yeah.
I can't speak about the whole world, but from what I've seen in a few nations growing up, and I just think it's external pressure, and I don't think we have the right resources yet to allow people to identify early on, hey, I love this or I love that, because the education system is based around history and math and certain things which I'm not saying are bad, but we could implement, different things early on to kind of have an individual identify what they love and what they want to do later on.
Yeah. Now, as you traveled to 3 countries as a child, did you always use football to kind of, break the ice, make friends, because it is the world's game?
I think, at that time, you don't really know, but now looking back, I think football was a way to kind of dig in, and despite color or race or religion or anything, it was just a way to unite. In addition to that, I think moving around gave me this ability to just adapt and learn and be open to different things, because if you weren't willing to, you were going to be a lonely kid going around. And I always had this thing where I wanted to be that center of attention. So you had to kind of have a personality to speak and communicate, and football helped with that. And coming from a family that was willing to sacrifice anything and everything and have a positive outlook on moves or changes, it literally, without unconsciously, set you up for the world of football. And you guys both know that just as much, if not more, than I do with your careers as well. And then in school, I would skip class, and I train an hour and a half, 2 hours during school. I spoke to one of my teachers that was on board with my dream, and to this day, I'm in touch with this teacher. And then I'd train after school. I'd go to the gym, and then I'd have my session at night. And I literally did this for like years. Yeah. Wow. So again, we can use that term. I was delusional, because we all know that's not the right way to train, but it was necessary, I think, because with that time, I think I took out the gap between an Australian player, I could say technically, because maybe these countries were a bit behind in terms of football IQ or maybe these kind of things, but technically the gap was this much. I completely took it away because of that time that I just, that crazy work ethic.
Shouts out to that teacher, by the way, him or her.
Shout out to that teacher, Mr. Matthew Hakuro. He's an artist. So
oh man, amazing.
Artist.
And shout out to the coach too that disrespectfully said no to you, because that kind of snapped you into it.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, that's that thing. Everything happens for a reason, and sometimes when you look back and you realize, yeah, all that did need to happen, even though at that time it was such a harsh rejection.
Mhm.
Yeah, but as you've gained experience throughout the years, how do you approach trials?
Yeah, I think I've realized that football is a game of opinion, right? And it takes you can have 100 opinions that say no, but it takes one opinion to be there wherever it is, right? I think in the maybe 3 years ago when I came to France and played there, I realized that I belong in the higher levels, the elite levels of global football, not just in Asia or not just in Australia or not just in the US, but I can play in Europe. And it wasn't anyone told me that. It was I genuinely realized that inside. And once I realized that, I don't have this fear anymore of rejection because I know deep inside that I can play there. And if it doesn't work, it was due to an opinion. Yeah, it was just kind of something mentally that I came to with experience. And to be honest, to answer your question specifically, it's not a specific thing that I do. It's what I don't do. It's that I don't think about it. It's that I don't take it on board. Of course, there's errors, and I analyze those, and I work on them so they don't repeat again. And if they do, I analyze them again and make sure I don't repeat them again. But it's not what I don't have like a process. I just, I just deal with it. I did this wrong, or I did nothing wrong, and it was due to an opinion, or due to position, or due to whatever it may be, and that's okay. And it'll work out the next time. And you go until that one opinion counts. And I was so fixed on France that I was like rejecting opportunities from other places. But then I had this thing where I just wanted to go to a league, not a league, a country that I know, country that I've been, country that's close by, and just play. Just get minutes back post-COVID. So went on Google, typed in Landesliga, Oberliga, and then the list came up. And then
I love these.
Honestly, no joke. This is hand to God, true story. I spoke about this in a German article. I don't know, you know, on the mouse, on the little thing on the mouse, you can like it like slides down. Yeah, I hit it once, it flew down, stopped it, clicked on one, on a team, whatever team it was. Scrolled, and the coach was Iranian. He was Persian. If that's not destiny, nothing is destiny.
Oh my God, yeah. Wow.
Then I found a way to contact him, and I explained to him. I said, that's what just happened. Now, believe it or not, I want to come and trial. Oh, I'll pay for everything, no problem. I want to come and trial. Anyway, it was COVID time. It was complicated. Ended up taking a 19-hour bus ride from Lyon to Düsseldorf. And then, stayed in Airbnb. They wanted to see me for a week, but after the first night, I signed in the dressing room with my towel on. They put me under pressure and had to sign. I'm joking, but I'm joking. But yeah, basically the first day we reached an agreement. They were happy. I was happy.
What tips would you give those in high school or college who are realizing they need to act now to start pursuing their dream?
Yeah, I think developing IQ is a big thing. I think developing IQ is a huge thing. That if I'm speaking to the audience, maybe more in players, let's say, for example, that are without academy football, or in French they call formation, like the League One youth and things like that. I think IQ is like the biggest difference between Australia, Canada, America, and Europe. So I think we can do that again with the resources, with YouTube, with studying games, with speaking to players. IQ is something to develop, and then also position-specific training. So like kind of knowing your position, or knowing if you're an attacking player, defense player. If you can minimize it, I mean, by 16, 17, 18, you should know. And then just focusing like your training mostly based on, is this helping me become the best possible person I can be for my position? I would say kind of those things, but then also, just kind of having a plan. And then being willing to, I see so many players, they say, I want to go pro, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you give them advice, they're like, no, that's not what it is. But then it's kind of contradictory because if you're coming for advice, then you have to be willing to accept also the advice, because the reality is there is people that know more. And football is not long enough of a sport or a career to make all the mistakes yourself. You have to learn from the mistakes of other individuals. So that's where you put the pride aside, you put the ego aside, you become a sponge. And that's what I would say to those young players. Like, find your mentor, find your people, reach out, speak, learn. I went through a period where I did not watch movies for like a year or 2 years. I just watched games. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm not condoning that, but I am just saying like that's the level of sacrifice and dedication you need to have in this game. And I'm where I am. So imagine the sacrifice and dedication Ronaldo had, or those top individuals, right? So I'm not saying, I'm just saying that as a level of, if I did all that and I'm here, imagine what more I have to do in order to reach there, or what those guys did to reach there.
The common theme about you, I think, is just your willingness and need to learn constantly. So can you touch on how important that is to learn constantly, and then also kind of challenge the status quo that you have?
Yeah. So this is something where I've had trouble on, because I'm like my biggest competitor and enemy. It's always like me against me. It's never an external source being better than me. It's like me being better than myself, or me being in conflict, And to get into your question, I think that how do I say, you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to always grow and always want to gain new information. But you also got to back yourself at times and say, I know, and I've done everything I need to do to be in the position I am, and now it's time to get into that flow state, right? So I say I'm my own enemy, because I went through phases where I was just wanting to learn and grow, and that's bad. I gotta critique, I gotta eat better, I gotta have 7% of body fat, not 8, and just always wanting to improve. But then you get in the perfectionist mindset, and I don't think that's the best thing as well. It was always like, I have to listen podcasts. I was listening to Joe Rogan all day, listening to Quentin Tarantino, and listening to this athlete and that athlete, and always wanting to learn, and grow and critique and be better and better. And even though that's great, but at some point you have to give yourself credit for what you've learned, and just go out there and do it. And then along the way, be willing to critique yourself, and 100%. Be willing to allow others to critique yourself. It's not how I was, but it's also not I don't care mentality, but it is a fine balance of the two.
Any quotes that you live by?
I have a quote of my own, and I'm wanting to release it on the podcast. So this is a quote.
This is exclusive.
I Googled it. It does not exist.
Hell yeah. You should trademark this right away.
Yeah, they really do have to. It's hard work makes you, consistency keeps you, and ego breaks you.
Love it.
Yeah, and that's just something that I've come to realize. Like, at the end of the day, no matter from where you are or what level or whatever, at some point, some sort of hard work made you get there. Whether that's, people always say smart work, but it's hard work to do smart work, because it's easy to train 10 hours a day and just go out there, but it's hard to be smart and say, no, I'm going to only train an hour and a half, So that's my reason for the term hard work. Consistency, because that's what it's all about, as you guys know, and then ego can be like the biggest
killer
level.
100%. Love that. I love that. Big goals, also just keeping it simple to know that you have to
at the end of the day, you focus on to get to the big picture, you got to focus on the now, and then you can even take it a smaller notch to do well in the now. You got to focus each week, and to do well each week, you focus each day. To focus each day, you focus each session. To focus each session, you focus each exercise. To focus each exercise, you have to focus each rep. So again,
Break it
very
down. Yeah.
small steps,
Mhm.
go, and eventually lead to that.
I love that breakdown.